I'm Leticia Barajas, and I'm a native Angelino. And just so you know a little bit of my context and my background, I was born and raised on 88th in Vermont, in South LA. So being committed to green workforce development is very near and dear to my heart. So as you know, I'm from Trade Tech College. And at Trade Tech College, we started re-engineering and transforming the way we do business over 6 years ago. And so we felt that if we wanted to be relevant in today's economy, and if we wanted to make sure our residents and our community members were well trained, we had to change our practices. We could no longer just have two-year programs that were built or that were developed from over 20 years of practice. We had to be more responsive to our local industry needs and our partners from labor like Jane, and our big employers like DWP, who Kelly represents today. What we did here, for those of you who aren't familiar with Trade Tech, first, let me make sure, who does not know where Trade Tech College is? It's okay, you can be honest. So just so you, a little bit of background, Trade Tech is right on the corner. We're on Grand, between Grand and Flower, right south of Washington. We have undergone a transformation, a physical transformation as well. We have new LEED buildings, I think they're platinum. No, well, they're gold on one of them and silver on the other. But we've also started developing practices within our institution that make us, that we've labeled the Green College Initiative. We have transformed how we purchase products. We have a recycling farm on campus. We now plant only native flower of California. So, and most importantly, all our workforce development programs now have a green or sustainable component. We do not believe in having a green degree. I mean, there's some other colleges that say, we're going to have a sustainability degree. We don't believe in that because we're Trade Tech College. We train for jobs, and we believe that if you want to be well trained for a job, you have to know the competencies within that industry, be it plumbing, be it electrical construction. You have to know the green side of that. So what does that mean? For our largest department, which is our construction trade, and our construction design and manufacturing department, that means our students are not just leaving with a degree in electrical construction. They're becoming BPI certified. They are becoming energy, for those of you who aren't familiar with BPI, that's Building Performance Institute, that's really looking at the Department of Energy standards and energy efficiency standards that really say you don't know just about electrical construction, you now think of building as a science and you believe in the whole house. And that is drastically different from what we've trained in the past, where if I'm a plumber, all I know is plumbing. If I'm a welder, all I do is welding. Now we have people understand they are part of a system. And it's important that if we want to be very employable, if you want to be marketable, that you understand the entire system and the trends in the industry. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And what that's done is also, as a college, we now no longer, when we train, we don't just train on a semester basis like your typical community college. If, for instance, and I know Kelly's going to talk about it quite a bit, if there is a special initiative that the city has in either retraining or employing a certain number of either youth or community members, then we know we have to deploy in a different manner. We have to develop curriculum within a month. We have to adopt and recognize that we need to have industry members at the table and to validate our curriculum. And most importantly, we need to have our labor partners be part of the selection process and be part of the whole curriculum design process. So those are just some major points on how we've transformed it. And I'll tell you, since we're a community college and we have our faculty are part of a union, initially it was hard, but now we've developed a culture with our faculty members where we can bring in partners like the LA Conservation Corps, I know that, Brian's there, and we work out with local nonprofit organizations to have them teach a portion of the class that's relevant, that talks about civic responsibility. It talks about development and youth development and so forth. So once again, I wanted to give you that overview, but tell you from a community college standpoint, it's not really about, for us, green jobs. It's about jobs that have the green competencies integrated in it. And it's, for us, our most important component is to ensure that the communities we serve, in particular the South LA community, that those residents are the first and foremost who are actually trained and hired for the new green job and the new green economy. So I wanted to give you that quick overview, and I mean, I don't know if there's time for questions now.
Sure, I think because, yeah, one of the things is that Leticia needs to take off relatively early here, won't be around till the end of the process, right. So we wanted to give you some questions. I'll start.
Okay.
What are some of the stats? What's employment looking like for your students in this very tough economy, and how many of them are moving into green jobs? And have you done, just in general, what kind of evaluation have you done of your efforts?
So one of the things we found, because we serve the student population that we serve, is that in the utilities industry, there's been a kind of a little freeze. Where most of our placements have come in from the first class on the utility pre-craft helper class that Kelly will talk about. But right now what we're finding is that we're making sure that our students are not the ones that are being laid off. And what I mean by that is that because they're gaining more competencies, because they're actually getting more certifications, contractors or employers are holding on to them longer. So that's one of the advantages. The other advantage is, in terms of stats, we have opened up with this whole new green economy, a new concept that we call the electrification of the transportation industry. We are now working very closely with Metro, and we have historically worked with them on any of the bus and the transit and the whole maintenance side. Now we are developing a light rail training program where we will be the workforce development provider for Metro in those jobs. Why is that important? Because that's an area that we really haven't examined, but now that with Breathe LA, now that they're opening up the Expo line, now they're lacking the appropriate technician and the pool to be able to support and maintain that infrastructure. And that's going to change. So what we're finding now is that we even have to step back and think about, really, is it that you're a transportation person or an electrical construction person? We now think that though there is an overlap, and there's a whole new super sector that will exist, that will need to exist, that we'll need to train on to develop that. And this is an exciting time because I think in LA we'll be at the forefront of that. So in terms of hires, we have continued to support any training and any workforce center partner in making sure that those who aren't employed have the competencies. But I'll be remiss if I can tell you that there are a lot of people who have been trained who haven't been employed. So we do have a huge pool of trained individuals who just haven't been employed in what they've been trained in, either energy efficiency audits or electrical construction. But we're hoping that that's picking up. And now, especially with Metro having the project labor agreement in the construction-related areas, we're very hopeful of that to be picking up as well. Any questions? Brian?
Can't help myself. What can programs like ourselves or other programs working with either youth or any individuals who are interested in getting involved in some of these training programs do to better prepare our participants to be successful in your programs?
For those of you who don't know, Brian represents, or he works very closely, he's a member of the LA Conservation Corps. And I think the Corps is an example, as in other community and nonprofit groups like the Coalition for Responsible Community Development, who are doing it right. Basically, there's a lot of you here have the access to individuals that would never dream of coming to college or ever consider a career or a change in career for this new economy. So I think one of the things you could do is, number one, do outreach, and number two is for organizations like the LA Conservation Corps, really do things that we can't do well. As a college, we train well, we educate, we hold standards. Case management and placement are not our key, that's not our forte. We get paid on how many individuals we train. We get paid on, eventually we'll get paid on how many people finish our programs. But there is no, I don't want to say incentive, but there's nothing in our structure to provide funding to really provide those additional support services that are really too personal, that we really aren't capable. We don't have the capacity to provide. So from our sense, the case management, the support, and the networking opportunities in terms of like what Jane does, is she comes to the college and she does presentations, and her organization says, look, this is what you need to do to be job ready and to be competitive in IBEW Local 11. And then hopefully we're going to engage Kelly as well, and she's going to come out and tell students, you know what, you need to make sure you have this and that in order to be, that you don't have any bar to employment at DWP. So I think that's the level of assistance that we need to help with the community members expect realistic goals and to have those foundational components established with them so that they succeed once they come with us. And most importantly, if I have any employers in the room or anybody who knows anybody, I mean, we need to know, because anytime there's an opening, we want to know about it, because we'll go out and we'll identify our best student for that program. Our faculty are always into making sure that they're recommending the best student for placement. Any other questions?
How long are your curriculums for different training?
That's great. The beauty of it is that there is no secret number or magic number. They can range from 8 hours to anywhere to 2 years. I mean, we still have major journey level preparation building trade programs that we do require the consistent practice and knowledge of a 2-year program. But we also recognize that 2-year programs aren't for everybody. So, I mean, we have OSHA training for 10 hours. We have OSHA training for 30 hours. So it varies. But we do offer a menu so people understand that regardless of where they're coming in, that we have what we call a stacked and lattice degree and certificate opportunities, which means that maybe you're not prepared for the 2-year program, but what you've acquired now maybe is the core curriculum or the foundational curriculum for a construction trade. So you can leave and be employed and then come back. And that work is still relevant and we give you credit for it and you don't have to take all the courses again. And we are moving now, I'm very excited about it, to become more competency-based. That is, if we have veterans, if we have people who have any kind of prior learning or experience, that we validate that. We don't force them to take, 120 hours of a course just to get those units. We're being very creative in how we deploy those practices. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question, another question. It seems to me that entering into the workforce, it's really important to be able to connect to the alumni network. So I'm wondering, have you created online systems? Have you done things so that the people who are graduating could be mentored by those who are now sort of professionally established?
I feel like I paid you to ask those questions because we became one of 8 campuses nationwide to be funded by Gates to deploy LATTC on Facebook. And what that's done, I mean, you all may think, oh, well, that's not a big deal, everybody's on Facebook, but it's actually a closed environment. In other words, our Facebook is only open to alums, students, and faculty of Trade Tech College, so we don't get a lot of noise from the outside. But what that's done is that we built discussion groups that are centered around job cluster, like transportation mechanics. That's become a network, a very peer-to-peer and faculty-to-student network, where jobs are posted, and we've had students who actually post a job or an employer who tells us about a job and we post it on there, and we know that they're getting interviewed 3 or 4 days later. And so that has been an amazing tool for us, and we're going to continue to deploy it. We launched it in the transportation area, but it's become very viral, and any job we now have or we know about, our immediate thing is to post it on Facebook, and we have about, while we only have 4,000 student followers, we still think that's pretty significant considering that we train anybody who's 18 to 70 plus. So I think that's an interesting method to really get the word out.
So I get the real sense of Trade Tech being an innovator. How much are these innovations disseminating to the other colleges in the community college district? Are they moving in the same direction? Are they still using more traditional approaches to your education? Do you know about your colleagues?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know about my colleagues. I think it's a difficult question because we are pioneering a lot of this, and in some cases, it's re-engineering the way you do business. And to many, that is somewhat, challenging status quo is a very difficult thing to do. I think we're very lucky that we have a strong base of faculty and administrators who believe in this and lead the charge. I think other colleges nationwide are picking up. I mean, LaGuardia in New York, there are Valencia College in Florida. We're learning from them. There are huge systems that we all share best practices. I think my colleagues in the LA area, competition is great because it makes you and it forces you to do more things. So I think there are other colleges that are picking up on other components. I just think that we need it to be this way because we are trade tech. 70% of our programs are career technical training. And unlike having a liberal arts focus, if we're not relevant now to the workforce today and to our industry partners, then we need to question our existence, and we don't want to go there. So.
Then I have a final question. Anybody else? Questions? I'm sorry, I don't mean to dominate. But this is very interesting. I was wondering how much Denise Fairchild's Community Development Technology Center, a very innovative program, Kelly, you and I remember this from our early days in urban planning. How much does that sort of created this environment? Has that, and what is the role between the Trade Tech and CD Tech?
CD Tech is an independent nonprofit, just like the LA Conservation Corps. It's been established a long time before my arrival, and I know it has a new executive director. What that nonprofit has managed to do with Trade Tech is to ensure that we had a community development program on our campus, and that's actually a certificate and a degree grantee program. So now for students who want to go into urban studies or urban planning, that is an opportunity to attain an AA degree. And that program is now institutionalized. It's housed within our business and community development department.
So there's all kinds of technologies. There's community development technologies.
Well,
as well as
and that's more of the community development side. I think the what CD Tech managed to pilot, we've taken the best practices and institutionalized them at the campus. And most importantly, I think what it did is it brought, from a nonprofit standpoint, it brought that pressure, that whole thing about we need to be relevant now, we need to respond to industry and community now. And that was not necessarily a push we may have had 7 years ago.
Great.